This is Rob Syke, and I'm CEO of AgVisor Pro, and welcome to an AgVisor pod. And we have a special guest on today, David Drozd with AgChieve. He's been a Canadian marketing expert for well over 20 years, well over 40 years. Sorry. The company AgChieve was founded in January of 2002. It's a professional farm and marketing advisory services specializing in the grains sector. Welcome, David, to the AgVisor podcast.
Thank you, Rob. Glad to be here.
So, where did I catch you today?
Oh, I'm working from my home office.
Okay,
We're in
you're
Winnipeg,
a
Manitoba.
U of M grad, right? Manitoba grad.
Correct. That is correct.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a lot about the grain markets today. We're going to start off, though, David. You've got a harvest special on with AgChieve right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market in the grain sector. What's that? What's the harvest special about? I know it's going to be available till November the 30th. It's on AgVisor Pro, and tell us a little bit about it.
Well, our special gives farmers an opportunity to check out the service that we provide. For 27 bucks, you can work with us until November 30th. You'll be on our highest rated package, the most popular one, premium. There you'll get our strategy, you'll get our recommendations to sell, alerts, so to speak. You can call in anytime, as often as you like, to talk to our experienced advisors. We know that farmers are not general. We make general comments or statements, but we know you got to hone it down to your own specific farm because you have different needs than your neighbor does. And by talking to our advisors, we're able to help you sell your grain for more, so to speak.
All right, so I had a look at this thing on AgVisor Pro. So download the app AgVisor Pro, go and look up AgChieve, and you get the harvest special. And did I hear correctly? 27 bucks to November 30th?
Yes, that's
Wow.
too good to be true. You bet.
Well, it's a great way to test the water with you, that's for sure. David, one of the things that came up when I looked at how people refer to AgChieve is cutting through the noise. And we are, 20 days away from a U.S. election. We've got India in the news with Canada right now. We got farmers there that are sitting with not knowing what to do with the 24 crop, and many of them sitting on 23 crop inventory. It's a real mixed bag right now. Can you give us how you are thinking about the marketplace right now, because it really is kind of turbulent.
Right. And, we're always seeing uncertainty in the markets. That's the only thing that's certain. And with that, I always say, well, what do the charts tell us? And I'm a technical analyst. I've been reading charts since I was farming back in 1980. So 40 years experience of looking at the charts, remembering what happened in bull markets, what happened in sideways markets, what happened in downtrending markets. And if you're marketing your grain the same way in all three, you're likely leaving millions of dollars on the table because there's different strategies in each of those. And buying, like holding and waiting for the high in a bull market, you might get lucky, but that certainly doesn't work in a downtrending market. And therefore, each recovery that we see in a downtrending market, we just learned you just keep selling that bounce. Unfortunately, it's not as high as the previous bounce. And
Yeah.
us farmers want to get back to the previous high. And hence, that's why we end up with some 2023 crops still in the bin. Now, going forward, I always say, well, that's behind us, that's the past. But we look at the charts because history repeats. And history repeats because human nature never changes. So, I'm not smart enough to say what are the ramifications of India or the US election or anything else that may come our way. But with the charts, we tend to make recommendations to sell based on a rally into resistance. Say you're technically overbought. I watch the slow stochastics. You get a reversal pattern on the chart, and that's our cue generally to make a recommendation to sell. And why do we stick to that discipline? Because 8.5 times out of 10, it turns down from there. One and a
Hmm.
half times out of 10 will go through. But now we sit back and say, okay, this market's turning up from a sideways market now. Let's see how far it goes. And, sell high and sell higher.
So it seems to me that this is a fairly technical strategy, and being a technical strategy, it takes one of the biggest risks out of making a decision, which is emotion. Would you
Correct.
would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, Rob. And the fact that I don't own the canola, I don't own the wheat. My vested interest is to do as best a job as I can for the farmer, or they're not going to renew with us at the end of the year. And therefore, that's when farmers speak with their checkbook, that makes you stay on your toes. In
Yep.
fact, I even put on a 30-day market outlook at the beginning of each month, forecasting what the market will do, providing targets in the cash and futures. And I might spend 6 hours to get that right over, say, six charts that I may share regularly, the main commodities. And you know what? There's not many times I'm off. It's
Hmm.
again, it just comes from experience, I guess.
How does the fundamentals overlay the work that you do?
Well, the fundamentals are important to notice or as well. Don't get me wrong. If you've got a record crop, such as we have with soybeans this year in the US, you've got a record corn yield, maybe the second highest corn crop ever, that will certainly have some impact. You got to keep in mind the fundamentals are constantly changing. What we know of today will be different in the next report. And we're not saying the report's accurate, but it's what the trade trades till the next report comes out. And, we often say, like, if a market rallies into one of those reports, odds are, if it isn't really bullish, you're heading down after. And if it is bullish, it's factored in. So you're heading down anyway. And it's the opposite. If you're heading down into the market, it's all likely factored in what they're believing by the time the report comes out. You gotta remember, it's a futures market. It's predicting the future. It's not predicting the past.
How do, something that has really started to have a profound effect on the markets in the last couple decades is the funds coming into the market, and are the funds able to be predicted by these trends as well? Do they factor in?
Yes, absolutely, Rob. In fact, when the funds are in buying and they're moving the market up, they're likely moving it further than it should have gone based on fundamentals. And then, as a farmer, they're our best friends when that's happening.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they turn that position around, take profit, the market goes down. Now they may even short the market and looking for it to go lower. And of course, then it's like, oh, those darn funds are short and pushing the market down. But they're really just the liquidity that's needed between the commercial grain companies getting their hedges on and being able to take care of normal business.
Hmm.
So with that said, if they're looking at charts and technical analysis, I think I'd like to hook my wagon up with someone who also does.
So talk to me a little bit about, 2002 to now, 2002 to today, AgChieve in the market, been around a long time. Let's talk about, first of all, why did you do it? And and what do you attribute your success factor to, Dave?
That's a good question. The reason I formed AgChieve is I saw a need. I grew up on the family farm, farmed up until 1997, was a commodity broker for 5 years in the 90s as well. And I had a lot of information at my fingertips, sitting in a downtown building, satellite on the roof.
Hmm.
And what our clients appreciated was the information I had access to, because you can remember back in the 90s, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have text, we didn't have email. And with that said, I was looking at those charts, figuring things out, et cetera. And I would make recommendations to my clients who are largely farmers to say, hey, you might want to short the market here. You might want to buy a put here to, reduce
Hmm.
some risk. But where I really got the idea to form AgChieve was there'd be days where I'd call my clients and say, hey, this elevator is paying $4 for oats. We sold our last 30,000 bushels. I think you should too. Now they're on the tractor seating and they go, great, David, I'll get that done. They didn't buy a put, they didn't short the market, and I didn't get paid. We were on 100% commission. Yet I saw the need and I thought, well, over 90% of the farmers are in that position where they don't have an account with a commodity broker. that's a big market I can access if I help them on the cash side, but using the tools I did when I was a commodity broker. And that's where I got the idea. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy in the beginning. I went and I talked to everyone I knew in the trade about what they thought about my idea. And it was like, oh, David, don't even try. Others have tried and failed. Farmers will not pay for information. And undaunted, I went and asked about 12 farmers what they thought. And then, your friends are, yeah, great idea, Dave, go for it. But then I said, will you support me my first year? And all 12 said yes. And that was off to the races from there. So it was like
I
like
sure
you saw a
relate.
dream
I
and
sure relate to that. That
yeah,
reminds me of shades of Agritrend on the agronomy side.
I
Exactly
bet.
the same thing. Um, let's talk about information. Back when you started, it was tough to get information. Today, it's like it's almost too much information hitting you. And when it comes to the markets, if you really open yourself up to all of the information out there, you will drown with all of the information. So, at one time, I think your service would have been really good to get information to a farmer. Um, Now it's like cutting through all the information to get to a farmer. Again, one of the things that I picked up in what was reading about you guys was actionable advice, and you just talked about that with the put. You talked about actionable advice. And so, how does that relationship work between you and a farmer in terms of turning this plethora of information into actionable advice?
Yes, and that's another great question. We cut through the news or the noise again by looking at a chart. And, it takes me minutes to look at a chart. I know what I'm looking for. It would take me hours to read all the information out there. And even if I had factored in everything that was known at that point in time, doesn't mean the market would go in that direction. And any given day, I can give you 5 reasons why the market should go down and 5 reasons why the market should go up. The end of the
Mhm.
day is which way, predicting ahead of time, which way will it go? And again, charting is how we're able to decipher all of that. My team will read the news and let me be privy to it, and I catch the headlines. But honestly, if I try to stay away from that because it will sway me. Whereas the charts I'm trying to stick to because that's what works for me.
So when a farmer starts with you, they chances are they're quite intrigued and want to learn quite a bit about your headspace and what it is that these lines and graphs all mean and these charts. And but I would bet that 99% after a while just go away and say they don't go away. They just say, Dave, just tell me what the frick to do. Is that correct?
That's pretty much true. The first year, there's more questions going on between us and them. They're wondering how we operate. We're wondering how their farm operates. We get to know each other. But after we've earned their trust, it's like, David, I don't need all this
Yep.
information. Just tell me when to sell. And that's what we'll send out a text and a one-page analysis giving a recommendation to sell. Or in strategy, we're already teeing them up what we're looking for. So it's not a surprise when they see the text coming in. They go, okay, now today's the day he's pulling the trigger. And we should act on that. Our biggest challenge is getting farmers to act on those recommendations because they're hearing so many other news items out there.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, at the top of the market, you're always going to hear the most bullish news, expectations for it to go higher. And that's where we as farmers, we either raise the bar on our target or we just reluctant to sell. And the market doesn't wait for anyone. As soon as it turns down, as you know, it could be 10 brutal days in a row before there's even a hiccup sometimes. And by then, us as a farmer go, I missed that one. So you wait. And then on the downside, the news is always the most bearish at the lows. Expectations are for the market to continue lower. And that's where we'll come in and say, yeah, but we're not, they'll say, David, if I should sell here, just tell me, I'll sell it all. And I go, no,
Yep.
no, no, we're not making a recommendation to sell today. Let's look for it to go back up here. But the key is we've already made a recommendation before that drop. We want to be, ahead of it. And that's where we say we'll help you sell at or near a high to avoid those inevitable lows. And again, following our discipline, rallying into resistance, technically overbought, get a reversal, or whatever other minor thing we may see. And that's been working for us. And don't get me wrong, Rob, if someone is using fundamental information, they're using the news, and they're doing great at marketing their grain, I says, don't change a thing. If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. But for us, they're just starting technical analysis.
I go back to what I think is one of the most important numbers in farming that I worked on so hard in my career, which is unit cost of production. If you truly understood what it cost you to produce a bushel of oats or a ton of canola, if you truly understood your unit cost of production, coupling this with an unemotional chart coach, an unemotional technical coach would be beautiful, because you can't lose money making a profit.
Correct. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Sometimes, yeah.
if you marry those things together, your unit cost of production together with unemotional triggers like you're talking about, I think it's a good mix.
Yeah, it's another way of looking at the markets.
Yeah.
There's many ways to look at it. Some people will do seasonals, sell so much and this time of year, that time of year. There's all kinds of various ways that farmers are looking to market grain. And again, whatever you're using, if it's working for you, keep doing it.
So I'm interested in the statue behind you. You've got a bull behind you there. Is that
Yes.
indicative of your position on the current market, or is it something deeper?
That's my buddy that sits over there all the time. You make more friends being bullish. I don't even have a bear. I didn't look for a bear. I just happened to come across this, and he looks so great, like the bull on Wall Street, so to speak, but more of a commodity bull. So I just fell in love with him, and it's a heavy statue, so I brought him home with me.
Well, I'm born in May, so I'm a Taurus, so that would be one of the things I relate to. Hey, David, you came on early with AgVisor Pro. This has been a long and determined build on my side to try to build a connectivity platform. Today we have hundreds of experts on the platform. You're still with us, and I appreciate that. Your commitment to that. What do you see as why are you intrigued with the concept of AgVisor Pro?
Well, there's a couple of reasons, Rob. I mean, one is it allows farmers to have access to us and all the other great companies, and professionals that you have on your site. And I mean, they can ask questions and get answers for free. Like, where else can you go to see that? And I mean, from our perspective, it's great being part of an organization that other, great companies belong to as well. A little bit of branding, networking, et cetera. And, we're all looking to, get recognition out there, have more people get to know us. And, every company's in the same space, in the same vote. And you know what? This is an agricultural company, so what better place to be a part of?
Yeah, the fundamental idea here is we developed an algorithm that will match questions to experts and companies in subdomain categories like you. And so when you have a question come in on grain marketing, my hope is that farmers and those in the industry find experts they otherwise wouldn't know. And I think this podcast that we're doing right now is a further testament to be able to spread some of that word. David, tell me again about the harvest special, $27 to the end of November. What does farmers get to experience for that?
With that, they're able to call in and talk to our experienced advisors as often and as many times as they like. Basically, they're going to be working with us as if they were on the premium program. It's to introduce them to AgChieve, to the premium program, which, again, you're going to get a one-page analysis that's going to summarize what's going on in that particular market. We generally do one a day, so you're not inundated with all kinds of news. You can pick the commodities you want, so you're not going to get them all. Again, we realize, like you said earlier, Rob, they're inundated with information. They
Yeah.
can select the information they want from us. And therefore, we'll put out the analysis, the strategy. And again, that strategy, you're not going to get anywhere else. You're not going to find it by Googling unless you come across AgChieve, because it's our strategy. People say, well, where do you get that from? That's us.
Your strategy. Well, I just came back from a Vegas weekend, saw Garth Brooks. You cannot buy a glass of wine for $27. So Yeah.
Go
So,
ahead.
anyways, I think that's a great way for farmers to have a test the water with AgChieve. As farmers out there or people in the industry, I encourage you to download AgVisor Pro on iOS and Android and connect with David and AgChieve on AgVisor Pro. AgChieve is available on all the social media platforms, so you don't have to go far to find them. But we'd like you guys to connect with them on AgVisor Pro. That'd be great. David, thank you so much for your time today. Best success, and I hope that you have lots of takers on your harvest special offer.
Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me on today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you.